ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमेन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणं मेस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। May all my limbs attain strength. May the body, mind, all the sensory and motor organs become perfected, capable. All is verily the one without second, absolute, blissful existence. Let me never deny this truth of oneness. May this truth never reject me either. May all the virtues necessary to experience this truth in life be with me. Om, peace, peace, peace. Let us close our eyes and let us feel that oneness in our heart. Feeling that all the names and forms they are like different animal crackers, animal cookies. The same one substance. This oneness alone, without any change, appears variegated, in different shapes and their corresponding names. That oneness, the Lord, is to be meditated upon. Is to be loved. is to be cherished. Om. Peace, peace, peace. So, dear friends, let us begin this 20th class of Srimad Bhagavatam, this great treatise, by reciting our regular opening chant. Janmadhyasya yatonvayaditaratashchartheshvabhijñaswarat tene brahmhridaya adikavaye muyyanti yat surayah tejo varimridam yatha vinimayo yatra trisargo mrisha dhamna svena sada nirastakuhakam satyam param dhimahe. That from whom the creation, sustenance and dissolution of the universe take place, who is both the instrumental and the material cause of it, who is omniscient, is the only one having self-mastery, being the one independent entity, who illumined the mind of Brahma with the Vedic revelation, whose wisdom is the wonder of even the greatest sages, in whom the world of three gunas subsists, just as the combination of materials like fire, water and earth subsist in their causes without changing their elemental nature, in whose consciousness there is nothing false. On that truth supreme we meditate. So, in our last class, friends, we were discussing that how this Lord, without any change, manifests this whole universe, but in addition to that, has many separate, very special manifestations within it. Very special manifestations. They are called incarnations of God. And this idea of incarnation of God is described in the various Hindu scriptures, although you don't see the explicit mention of it in Upanishads. But even in Upanishads you find a very strong hint to that. Anyway, but this is a very poetical thought, and it begins here in Bhagavatam with what is called this Varaha incarnation. It is actually in that hierarchy or the sequence of avatars, this boar, this big boar is number 3. But in this description you find that first it begins with it, that it is, and let me read. We are beginning chapter 7 the discussion of chapter 7 now, that Brahma said, and we just read in the meaning of the opening chant, that the Lord had illumined the mind of Brahma and thus was capable of having this creation manifested. Brahma became an auxiliary secondary instrument. He has maintained that earlier also, that although you look me to be the creator, I actually am doing just whatever the Lord inspires me to do by His power alone. I don't have any separate entityship. I am under complete control of Lord. So that is how it is. You get it from Brahma. Like Richard writes a check. Swami, this is the check. Now I go to bank to cash it. Now the cashier gives me the money. Now the cashier is not actually giving the money. It is just prompted by the check by Richard. That is how the check is given by somebody. Somebody is just executing that. That's all. So that is how Lord has given this command to Brahma, and then Brahma just manifests everything by that cosmic intelligence that comes out of Brahma, and thus this also is inspiration of Lord. So Brahma now is telling to his son Narada that how this is all coming. Let us not forget the connection. This is all the story that the Suta is telling to Shaunaka and other sages. And that is what is in this book Bhagavatam. And he tells that he heard it when Shuka was telling it to Parikshit. How did Shuka get it? Shuka got it from his father, the sage Vyasa. And how Vyasa got it? He was told by Narada about it. And thus, where did Narada get it? Narada got it directly from the Lord by contemplating, meditating, singing on the glory of God, and being in that with the earlier age. He spent all that time devoted to God, and then his mind retained all that memory. And so Lord had told him, we had seen those things earlier in the first volume, in 5th chapter of that first volume or so, we had seen those things, that how Narada therefore was endowed with the capacity to remember everything. He was told that by Lord, well, I have shown you the glimpse, but in this birth you are not pure enough to realize that truth. So it again and again we see this idea that the presence of Lord is all everywhere. Anybody with pure heart can see it. That's it. It is like if my eyes are covered with something, and then I will not, suppose I have all the dark glasses put on my eyes, then I will see this world all dark. Now the world doesn't need to change. I need to just take my glasses off, and then I will see all other colors, different things. So it is all the question of cleaning our mind. So Lord said, well, you will not see me again in this birth because you are too impure. But then you will have time to meditate, to purify. When you attain to what is called Brahma Loka, we had seen this earlier, that one attains to Brahma Loka, where you reach a very subtle state, identifying yourself with the Creator Brahma. You don't die there. Now there are described in Bhagavad Gita the ways that you can be there till the cycle of this Brahmas is over. It's a very long period, maybe say like a few billion years. So in that few billion years, Narada was contemplating on the glory of Lord, and that purified his heart. And then in next cycle he again was born, and then in that cycle now he got the power of seeing the Lord everywhere and singing the glory of Lord with his that veena, a string instrument. All that he was able to do was to go everywhere, tell people about the glory of Lord, his name, and how that alone is the purifier. So that was his job. So this is how this Narada told it to Shuka, and which Narada got from Lord himself, this great Bhagavatam, the discussion on these glories of Lord. So now we are listening that Narada was asking his dad that please tell me how you created this world. This is for our illumination, that again to bring this great truth out, that there is no such creator and creation made by that. It is God alone who appears in his glory. Brahma said, I did not actually create. This is all happened by the grace of God, by the wish of God. His wish is manifesting. In Upanishads also, therefore you read Sa Ikshata, that Lord just thought, envisioned, and then the world came out. So, and then the summary of incarnation begins here. Brahma said, when the primeval demon, Hiranyaksha, these stories will get elaborated later as we read it further, that when this primeval demon Hiranyaksha buried earth at the bottom of the ocean, the Lord took the form of the cosmic boar, the embodiment of all yajnas, that is sacrifices, in order to lift up the earth. He tore that demon to pieces with his tusk, as Indra split mountains with the thunderbolt. So, that is how this creation began. The earth came about, and then Brahma said, thus then the God started creating, but it was that creation was not immediately expanding much, because Lord was making the experiments, so to say, that first let me put some little impurity and see how what happens. If that is not sufficient, then I will add some more, do something else, so that it will be a perfect alloy, you say, that it is gold, and then in gold you mix a few other things so that you can mold ornaments out of that. Otherwise it is too soft to be molded into any ornament. So the god started putting his own maya, his own delusive power in it. And then the first some creations that came about, they were so devoted and so pure that they could not be the instruments of procreation further. It is, you need some more, instruments had to have some more impurity, some more desire, and then they become instruments for procreation. If no desire, then there won't be that. So the first that he said, that first was the Ruchi by his wife Akuti. He had that making this praja, means this progeny. The Prajapati was made, and this Prajapati, the maker of this progeny, his name was Ruchi. These names are significant. Ruchi means liking, attraction, liking, and then that became intensified, and he married. He got his wife out of it. That name of the wife is given Akuti, means yearning. That you become, full of that. I want it. You cannot survive without it. There is the yearning. So thus now with that the creation started. The Lord took birth under the name Suyajna and begot two devas named Suyamas in his wife Dakshina. Then with that the Lord took birth, and then it is the Suyajna, the wife of Dakshina, with his wife Dakshina. In his incarnation as Suyajna, he erased the sufferings of all beings in the three worlds. After this work, he was called Hari. In his incarnation as Suyajna, Suyajna, he erased all the sufferings. And so, that is the meaning of the word Hari. We say, chant the name of Hari, the Lord. So, Hari means the one who absorbs everything. That is how Hari, the one who takes away everything. What does that take away? That Lord, sufferings of everyone are thus taken away. Then he was born of Kardama Prajapati and his wife Devahuti. He was the next Prajapati was, his name was Kardama. Means in that there is a little more desire probably. And then he was born with his wife was Devahuti. And then that description will come. There is a big volume here called Kapilopadesha. The son born out of that was God himself, taking the incarnation of Kapila. So that in a way, it is, we shall come to this slide later because I am describing these things now. That Kapila was the God incarnation born out of this wedlock between Kardama and Devahuti. So So Devahuti and Kardama. So what happened was, Kardama was a sage, and after giving birth, what happened? He wanted to renounce the world. So his wife prayed. This story is not right here, it will come later. But I am telling you now that it is. She said, anyway, well, you are going, but why don't you give me a son, a child, when you are going away? And then Lord had already promised her that he will be born in her womb. So therefore now the Lord Kapila came in the form of Kapila. And then when he also decided to go take to monastic life, then his mother said, please give me some advice so that this birth will become now worth a human life. I will realize God in this birth. So give me some advice to that end. And then he gave the mother a wonderful advice that is known as the Kapilopadesha, a full big chapter in Bhagavatam. If we proceed further by the grace of God, we will be able to discuss it. It's studied in itself as a scripture. I had taken up as one of my first retreats that I gave after coming to US was on Kapilopadesha, and that happened in Marshfield. So it is a nice text. So then it is again a very pious son. That was the incarnation of God, was Dattatreya. Dattatreya was born of the sage Atri. It is so sage Atri had prayed to Lord and said, I have offered myself. That Lord told him, I offer myself as son to you. So that is how Datta. So that is how Datta name, Dattatreya, means Lord said, I am offering. Datta means offered. So I am offering myself to be your son. So that is the next incarnation. This Dattatreya is worshipped in India as this, that he has the faces of Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, 3 faces. So therefore he called Traya means 3. So, and there are many temples dedicated to this Dattatreya, and lots of devotees and many sages, they have realized this truth, the God, by worshipping this incarnation, Dattatreya. So about him also we will read later. Sri Ramakrishna used to refer to that story that Dattatreya had 24 teachers. So how Dattatreya learned from all of them, that is the idea that will come. Then then he further incarnated that king of Hehayas, that Kartavirya Arjuna and others purified their their bodies and attained to both worldly enjoyments and spiritual bliss. in the beginning desirous of creating all species of beings, I practiced concentration. So Brahma practiced concentration. Because to create you need concentration, isn't it? That it should come out well. So what is to be done, how much this to be added, how much that is to be added. You concentrate. Let me think, you say, let me think. So for creation, you need concentration. So you concentrate. You don't want to get disturbed at that time by other thoughts. So Brahma concentrated. And through that concentrated mind, as a result of my unbroken concentration and worship, the Lord was pleased to be born of my mind as the four sages with names beginning with Sun. Sun, it is that it is a prefix which suggests, wholesome. It is Sang comes when you want to say something as in a to give it an exalted and comprehensive sense. You put that suffix, that prefix, sang, like Sanskriti, Sanskar, means it is Samyag. It is all these mean that it is a very purified, good, nice. So all of these, those who were created, were so good. They are the sages. They are wonderful. That's Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana and Sanat Kumar. The knowledge of Atman, which was lost to all living creatures at the time of the previous dissolution, was revived by these four, and this knowledge given by them was transmitted to generations of sages that came later. You also see that even Narada had met these four sages. So this is, you see, in the lady Murti, the daughter of Dakshina Prajapati and the wife of Dharma Prajapati, he was born as the twins Nara and Narayana. These are all incarnations of God, Nara and Narayana. So, again, they were very pure, they were full of self-knowledge, and then therefore they could not create anything. When you have this self-knowledge, you are everything. Where is there is no impetus for creation. You are fulfilled. The creation does not proceed. There is no need of creation. And that is why when the mind starts moving towards God, the thoughts about creation start vanishing. And the creation is, after all, appearance. So you do not care about it, you care about Lord. So that is how Sri Ramakrishna used to think, that the mind then goes to Creator. The creation is secondary. Whether it is there or it is not there, it doesn't matter. He used to say, the magician and his magic. The magic just is a manifestation. It is anyway comes and goes, not important. So therefore, as one starts getting the mind purified, gets more concentration, gets devoted to Lord, the idea of making the creation good starts taking a back seat. On couple of this, few days back, last Tuesday, I was speaking on Zoom with the Jewish community associated with Temple Sena in Cranston. So, one question that was asked was this, that okay, it is said that the Hindus, they are more absorbed in the glory of the self, introspective, and so therefore they don't bother about creation. And we also hear in Hindu scriptures that there is the advice to serve the world and all. But is it true that the Hindus, they are more absorbed in Lord, means they in their self? Yeah, I said in this sense that it is, you see that the world is manifestation of this self. It is a reflection. So as you are is, so is your reflection. It is, you stand in front of the mirror and you see your reflection. It is not, so therefore it is not the changing the mirror that you will start looking more beautiful, you say. It is, the mirror just reflects how you look. So the world is as you are. Your world therefore is different from somebody else's world. So, and yet you serve the world so that you become better. It is the process of serving the world is prescribed in the scriptures of Hindus for this purpose, that you will be able to purify yourself and see the Lord pervading the whole universe. So this is how these four came about. They had no interest in creation. They were not in a way good, if you want to call that as good. They were not good instruments of procreation. As procreators, they were kind of useless. So these Nara-Narayana, they were so pure. It's an important description here that tells what are these, that no lust, kama could reach them, and no anger also. It is, and it mentions here that the anger is more powerful. Even anger could not reach them, what to speak of lust. Anger is very powerful. Anger may not be expressed but burning inside. You keep on having that anger for a long time, it keeps on burning the heart. The lust is comparatively speaking weaker. The anger is stronger, and therefore we keep on supporting one's anger, calling it righteous anger. It is, I got so upset. Look what this fellow did. It is, yes, one of our members, she gets this indignation, the righteous anger, because it is, once anger becomes righteous anger, that fellow was mean to me. And so that fellow, that meanness went away in a minute, for that person vanished. But then this devotee kept on hitting oneself again and again with that same thing, because the anger penetrates deeper. You get angry more and more. It keeps on cooking inside, as it were, spoiling the whole life. So anger is very powerful. It is, thus, you start burning the whole universe in anger in your mind, you say. It is, hey, everything is bad. So it is, thus it is said that even anger could not disturb these sages, that Nara-Narayana. They were like together, Nara and Narayana, two sages. Sri Ramakrishna used to speak of Narendranath, who became Swami Vivekananda, sometimes as Narayana, sometimes as Nara Rishi, the sage Nara. That it is, they are just forms of that God. So this was how the incarnation came up. So it is Dhruva, stricken by the vicious arrow-like diatribe of his stepmother, went to forest to perform austerities, even though he was then a mere boy. That Dhruva, then the story comes that it is Lord gave as boon the imperishable steed called the sphere of Dhruva, which receives the adoration above the sage, adoration of sages, occupying regions above and below it. Vena, the tyrant king, was deprived of his prowess and destroyed by the thunderbolt of the Rishi's curse, and was in danger of being consigned to hell, born of his son Prithu, the Lord, saved him from that fate, and thus justified the name Putra. That it is, this is Putra means son, but how this the derivation is Pung Nama Narakat Trayate iti Putraha. That this king was not, it didn't have to go to hell, although was a tyrant. Yet why? Because Lord was born to him as his son, and so thus he got the name Putra. So everybody is, son. When somebody is born in a family, son, then it is imagined that that is how the Lord is born. So it is a way to make one's look upon everyone as God. So the husband, wife, they look on each other as divine. The form of the man is like Narayana, the wife is like the Lakshmi, and then the children again are like that, born of that, and so that is how they protect you from the. Then he was again born as Rishabha, the son of Nanabhi, by his wife Sudevi. All these descriptions are given here. So many incarnations of God. But that is, these are in a way experimental, localized and all that. The 10 incarnation story is a different one. It will be proceeding that it is that during the deluge, and this is according to many, it is the story of evolution, that how the Lord incarnated as a fish, the aquatic creature. So in all different scriptures of the world, you say the description of deluge. And from that deluge, then the creation came after that. So in this deluge, there is this story which is very similar in many Puranas. This story comes that, okay, he was told that well, you keep, the big fish was found. The story that the Manu got this fish. He was a fisherman and got a fish. So the fish prayed that don't kill me. So he kept it in a little jar. But it became big. So Manu had to put it in a bigger receptacle, couldn't put it. So put it in a river, it became too big. So Manu had to let it in the ocean, and it became very big. So he told Manu, when the time of dissolution will come, what you do, keep two of every species, the male and female, in a big boat, and then I will put that boat in the deluge, and I will come and save you all at that time. So that is the description of this Lord as a fish. And in the Darwinian evolution also, you see the first aspect of creation was the aquatic life. Aquatic life was the first. So then came that which could survive on both these, water as well as land, and that was therefore called the tortoise. A tortoise could be in water as well as on earth. So therefore that is the second incarnation of God, this Matsya Kurma. Kurma means this tortoise. So Lord manifested as tortoise. Then came that had been described earlier, Varaha. That is not much discussed, but then comes the Nirsinha. All these will be discussed later in details, but this is just a brief description here. So that it is this turtle came as a result of the churning of the ocean by the demigods and the demons to get the nectar out of it. And then that big turtle was used as a support for the churning. That churning rod was now churning the huge ocean, not your little churning rod that you order on Amazon or whatever, or any store you get it. That will not be able to do that. So you need a huge, the descriptions are there, that the whole huge mountain of Meru, now where that is I don't know, it is like the Himalayan, the tallest Himalayan peak. So that was used as the churning rod. And then the where to keep it now? So it needs some stable base. So this big tortoise was, God became that to give the support to that. And thus a huge snake called Vasuki became the cord that had to be held by on one side by the demons, on another side by the demigods. Both had to combine the force. The forces of both of them had to be combined to do this churning process. So a huge snake became the cord that was tied to this churning rod, the Mount Meru. So, and then the churning started. The idea was to get the nectar. Everybody wanted to become immortal. That is our desire, that I should survive all the time. I should be there. Nobody wants to actually die. We get tired of this situation. Oh my goodness, Lord, take me away. But it doesn't really good. We don't want to die, but we want better circumstances. That's all. That is the meaning of it. So therefore both these demigods as well as the demons, they both wanted to become immortal. So both started that listening from some sources. They had their intelligence, so they heard that that is in the bottom of the huge sea, infinite sea. So if you churn it, then it may come out. So now they thought that effort is worth the reward. So they started churning it. So for that churning, this kurma was, when the devas and asuras started to churn the milk ocean, he appeared as a tortoise supporting the churning rod of the Mount Mandara. The whirling of that enormous mountain on his back, serving only as a pleasant scratching that drove him to sleep. This is just poetic description, that this turtle was so big and so strong that even that huge Mandara mountain, here the name given is Mandara, that whole big huge mountain was being churned, used as the rod to churn. And so, but that just gave him a pleasant sensation, a kind of nice massage. So that is how that was. So assuming the form of that man lion, that is the next one. In the story of Prahlada, you see, he killed the demon who was the brother of this Hiranyaksha that was spoken of earlier, who was killed by the form of God as the boar, as the huge boar. So he killed this Hiranyaksha. But his brother was Hiranyakashipu. He was also as strong as his brother, and so he captured the whole universe. And because God had killed his brother, he was a staunch enemy of God. And because of his power in his kingdom, he banned God. No God here. I am the God. And then the story goes, we will see that story some other time. But that is, this demon was then killed by God, taking the form of half lion and half man. The story of that is very interesting. Why God took this form? Because this demon performed lot of austerities and got some boons. The boons were like this, that he cannot be killed in the day or not in the night. You can't kill during the day nor at night. Can't be killed on earth or in water or in the skies. Can't be killed by humans or the demigods. Nobody can kill me. Can't be killed by weapons or by missiles. So with all these, he was quite sure that nobody will be able to kill him. All protections. So Lord decided, no problem, So I will manifest in such a way that all those conditions of the boons will be fulfilled, and still you will be killed. So whatever one can do, take all protections, all type of medical research, whatever one may do, the death comes in the form of a tiny, that coronavirus, So now people are feeling confused, helpless. What should we do? So it is like that. The death cannot be escaped at all. So Lord appeared in the form of this. Half body was human, half was lion. So he had a big mane and the big nails of lions. And so this demon he took on his lap right at the moment of twilight. Neither day nor night. Didn't kill him on the earth or in the skies or in waters. Did not use any weapon. He was neither man nor beast nor any demigod. He just used his nails to tear this demon into pieces. So, that is another story. So, this is in the story of evolution, this forms like when the animals start showing the human tendencies. So, therefore, half lion and half human. This is how a stage comes there. Then now the human becomes more perfect, but is still small human. So the next birth is that of the little man, Vamana. Vamana means therefore a small sized. So it has an allegoric meaning that it is not a perfectly developed human being. So there is this God appears in this form to now end the reign of this demon Bali. That is a very inspiring story. I won't repeat it. A few months ago, Srikant did a good job with that. The story of how Bali was suppressed by Lord in this form of Vamana. Then comes the incarnation. Now the man has developed into a fierce man, a well grown up, but with the tendencies to rule with power. And that was the story of Parshurama. The Lord came in that form to teach lessons to those who were becoming very powerful because of their valor, their capability to manage big armies. Kshatriyas, they were called Kshatriyas. They were becoming tyrants. To teach them the lesson, Lord took the form of Parshurama. Then next is the incarnation of Rama. The human beings now started to understand the importance of developing the divine qualities of sacrifice, truthfulness, discipline, the obedience, and all such, the fidelity, commitment, everything that was described in the next incarnation of Lord Rama. In Rama, you see that it is all these human qualities they have been described and manifested. That he killed the demon Ravana, but he accepted the command of his father, and which was prompted by his stepmother Kaikeyi, that he should be sent to forest for 14 years, and he will before that he has to give up his right to become king. So for 14 years he spent in forest, just obeying the command of the father. So he was epitome, an embodiment of all virtues that a human being can think of. The demonic tendencies have been erased. So that is that incarnation of Rama. Then it seems here the story says now it will be incarnation of Krishna. So the Krishna story is in the Bhagavatam, and then is the described Buddha. I will just, although I am looking at the clock, please give me a couple of more minutes to complete this story. That there is then the story of Buddha, the complete man. So it seems that all these scriptures were written in the post-Buddhistic era, because the description of the God incarnations finished there, and then the 10th one is kept to just show the future possibilities of the evolution. And so at Buddha, it is the humanity comes to that stage of realizing the truth. That is the glory of Buddha, that just contemplate and realize the truth. So that is the 10th, the perfection of humanity is seen there. So this is how all these, so this is the story of the incarnations. So and then he said, he revealed to you, O Narada, as the giver of Bhagavatam. He also, it describes here before this day, as Dhanvantari, the giver of Ayurveda, a science of life. The God appears as the doctor. So then will be coming up next as Krishna, Buddha and Kalki. So Krishna and description is full here. This is full of Krishna's description. And then Buddha was known earlier, so therefore there is the mention of Buddha and some description also. So there comes it is all these epics, therefore the Puranas, they are the creation after the birth of Buddha. And the modern Hinduism is really a combination of that Buddhism and the Vedantic Vedic ideas. So anyway, so Narada was given this advice, and then to conclude, Brahma told Narada, so, O child, because he is his son, O child, I have now described to you in brief the nature of the all-perfect being, the Bhagavan, who is the source of the universe. There is nothing existing that is not included in Sri Hari, the original being, who is neither a cause nor an effect. This brief account of the manifestation of the Lord is what is called the Bhagavata. So this chapter is the Bhagavata in brief. So this God manifesting as all these great entities, everything is imbued by the presence of God. So I have also given you a brief account of the Lord's glories and attributes. You please elaborate them. You elucidate it with the help of your imaginative power in a way that will generate devotion in the mind of men for Sri Hari, who is the soul and support of all. Whoever describes and hears with faith the account of the Lord's Maya or his mysterious manifestations of glory and delights in so doing will not be infatuated by Maya. That is how Narada therefore is chanting this story to everywhere, to all human beings, for their purification. And that is how in so many different enlarging editions from one to another, we are now able to read it, hear it. That is how this glory of this great book Bhagavatam is. So let us chant that this one may be able to, Narada says, that the Brahma says to Narada, one may be able to count the number of dust particles on the earth, but not the powers and excellences of God. He holds steady without moving, while the whole universe, with everything from the tiny electron to huge galaxies, move continuously with complex and fast motion. Everything else is moving. God is not moving. So, that is how now I command to you, dear. It is that it is just spread this wisdom to all. So let us chant this concluding mantra. Nigamakkalpatarurgalitam phalam shukamukhadamritadrava-sanyutam pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhurho rasika bhuvi bhavukaha. O devotees, quaff, quaff to intoxication this nectar of the fruit of the tree of Vedas, flowing from the mouth of the great sage Shuka and mixed with the ambrosia from his word. So meditate, let us meditate for half a minute, and then if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Then we shall conclude with the closing chant. Yes, any question?
Yes, Swamiji, there are 4 questions.
4 questions there, okay. And here also there are some. So, which should I take first? Okay, let us begin with the web. Okay. Web questions first.
I can, there are 2 questions from one person. I can start with one and then maybe add later one other.
No, speak both, tell okay. Both of them, yeah.
First one is from Max Mayer. Following your words about true nature while meditating, it feels as if consciousness is being pulled through a very narrow needle eye before it spreads into vastness. Is that normal?
Spreads into what?
Vastness.
Vastness. Yes, there are various ways which are characteristic to individual and the process that the individual is following at that time. It is not that this is the only way, but this is how it expands in many, that yes, it feels like in a small this thing and then expands. Many times I gave that kind of meditation to think in your heart the God as a spark of light and then let it spread. So that is one way. Sometimes it can be used just to feel the vastness. See this whole universe and let everything melt into that. All names and forms, let it melt into that. So that also is another way. So it is, it depends, So very good. Next.
Second question is also from Max Mayer. When discriminating, the ego turns out to be an object, thus only appearing sentient. But the concept of subject and object is also an object. So it isn't correct to assume consciousness to be the only subject, is it?
The consciousness now, since if we have to use the terms subject, object, the consciousness alone is, it is beyond the subject-object division. And it is called subject because we start inquiry as the subject and object dissolves. Now what remains, gets called subject, but that connotation is not, because subject is in relation to object, and therefore the name kind of continues as the subject, but it is no more a subject in that sense because there is no object. Like that it is somebody is a son of somebody. So automatically when you say son means there are parents. If there are no parents, no son either. So it is like that, that the subject also dissolves into the existence which is beyond all characterizations, beyond all naming. Even the word self is thus not appropriate. If you start with saying that Lord is everything, then the idea Lord remains, but not as a particular form or that particular name in that sense. No.
Next question is from Teresa.
Teresa.
Why are all the incarnations in the stories you discuss being portrayed as male, not as female?
Oh, well, there are the different Puranas, the stories, they are not men or women there. They are Lord. So you can think of them as women. It doesn't really is the gender specific as such, because each incarnation has especially after the human beings appear from Rama, has a consort who is female and who is shown to be the power of that incarnation. So therefore there is no such thing there. Yes.
Next question from Abhijit C. In the story of Hiranyakashipu, is the idea that his boons involved dualities, and this duality was destroyed by the non-dual which abides in the middle, that is as the source of all dualities.
Well, that is the demon is that, you are right, that the duality, but the power of that duality, the really the fulcrum of it is the ego, and that is the demon. So that demon is to be destroyed by the devotion to Lord. Devotion to Lord, surrendering to Lord, that devotion makes that ego disappear, and then what remains, well, because of the absence of any appropriate word for it, we call non-duality, that's all.
Please let people know not to go around downtown Providence, the State House or the mall. There's a big rally going on and a curfew tonight.
Okay. Yes, now, yes.
It may be a dumb question because I do not know much about Bhagavatam, but it seems to me, with limited understanding, Vyasdeva wrote Bhagavatam, the last one, as we know. That's the last composition Vyasa did.
No, that is that is what we have been discussing here. What Vyasa wrote is not what we are reading now. Vyasa wrote maybe just they not in this language. It was all in a different language in which he told it to his son Shuka. That was a divine way of transmitting. In a completely different that language is not available to us, that understanding is not available to us. So therefore it went from stage to stage. Yes. So it became more and more elaborate in that sense, yeah.
My question is, again with limited understanding, is Bhagavatam, the intricacies of the mythological stories, and that universal truth is so deeply buried. It is more intricate mythological stories. It seems to me the universality is lost somehow. It's only people of Indian origin who are
That is true. That does happen even in India also. This problem comes. People do get lost in the stories, and because the very idea is there is always everything has this double-edged sword, as they say. If there are stories, people feel attracted to listen. But then we human beings are expert in shooting our own foot, So we take the story, and then what happens is the truth and the illuminating part in that story is discarded, and we just keep this story with us. So this problem comes. We are given, say, a banana, and a fool peels and keeps the peel and discards the stuff inside, So that is what we do, because stories we love. So this happens with all these Puranas, and therefore, especially in Bhagavatam, the stories of course are intricate, but you will see every now and then, means you cannot read a page of Bhagavatam without that. Therefore one should meditate that the God alone is real. So this also comes again and again, that seeing the glories of that Lord who has manifested like this, put the mind in that Lord. That is the essence there. So that part keeps on coming again and again in Bhagavatam so frequently that it is, as I mentioned, you can't read a page without having this thought embedded in it. Yeah. Somebody wanted to ask something else? Or done? Same. Dattatreya is called Avadhuta. The same person with two different names, many names, but one is this, that Avadhuta means completely purified. So Dhuta is purification. So it is like that, yeah. So let us conclude with the closing chant. Mukunda Madhava Govinda Bol, Keshava Madhava Hari Hari Bol. Mukunda Madhava Govinda Bol, Keshava Madhava Hari Hari Bol. Hari Hari Bol, Hari Hari Bol. Krishna Krishna Bol, Krishna Krishna Bol. Mukunda Madhava Govinda Bol, Keshava Madhava Hari Hari Bol. Keshava Madhava Hari Hari Bol.